Hello, guys. Welcome. Thank you for signing up. Thank you for joining. Thank you for taking this. Okay, well, it's not a course, but thank you for listening to this video. All right. Today in this video, we'll be talking about personality disorders. Personality disorders. However, before we go on, I'd like you to do something very quickly. You might have to pause the video, okay, at this point, and go type into your Google search www.16personalities in plural.com 16 in figures, not in words. 16personalities.com. All right, I want you to take the personality test there before you go on with this video. Right, so quickly I want you to raise off to Google and do just that. I would refer to this test in the course of this lesson. All right, so yeah, back. Personality disorders, what about them? What are they all about? What does it mean to have a personality disorder? Okay, so this and more we're going to look at in this video. Come on with me. Let's go. So what is personality disorder? Personality disorder is an unhealthy behavior which causes you to have a rigid and unhealthy pattern of thinking, functioning, and behaving. Now, this just implies that personality disorder affects the way you think and function and behave. Okay, so it affects your relationship with people. Why? Because you find it difficult to perceive and relate to situations and people. All right, and when you have personality disorder, there is a high likelihood that you might have significant problems and limitations in relationships, social activities, work, and even school. That's if you're a student. Okay, so now, sometimes we might not realize that we have personality disorders. Yes, it's very much possible because it's you. I mean, it's your way of thinking and behaving seems very natural to you, and you might want to blame other people for the way they behave. You might say, "Oh, well, I'm this. She's the one that is that, and he's the one that is that. I'm cool. I'm okay, and I'm all that." But you might not realize that they might be reacting based on their on what you're giving them, your personality, what you're throwing at them. Okay, so they're giving it back to you. All right, so personality disorder becomes evident in the teenage years or early childhood. So it's more glaring because then you have more, matured conversations, relationships, interactions with people. All right, in your teenage and your early adulthood. All right, so but one thing that I would need you to take note of is that personality disorder oftentimes is an interaction between your background, your environment, and or your gene. Okay, so we'll talk more about this in this video. I want you to come along with me. How do you identify a personality disorder? How do you know you have one? Okay, yes, for the purpose of this study or this teaching, I might say PD, but I might not. All right, so it's a broad term. Personality disorder is a broad term. It's a complex term. All right. Already, our personalities are actually complex on their own. All right, and temperament is a major deciding factor of your personality sometimes. All right, so I don't know if you've heard of the word temperament before, but if you haven't, there are so many books on it. You can check up the internet. I'm sure you see some free PDFs that would help you understand what temperaments are. Normally, temperaments are classified into four. So we have the sanguine, the melancholic, the phlegmatic, and the sanguine, melancholic, phlegm rather, and what's this word now? What's this word? Sanguine, melancholic, phlegm. Oh boy. Okay, when I remember, I'll come back to it. Okay, so adding personality disorder to the already complex personality might make it worse. Okay, might make it worse. Now, okay, yeah, I remember now. I remember the fourth temperament. That's choleric. Choleric. All right. Mood swings, desire and isolation, being too sensitive are just few symptoms of a disorder, right? These are just few symptoms of a disorder. Personality disorder can be grouped into three classes, and each class has a type, and the symptoms are the symptoms in each type makes it is a condition for being classified, in a particular class. Now, I need to mention this, that the fact that you exhibit one or two symptoms does not necessarily mean that you have personality disorder. No, it might just be your temperament, that is more pronounced or something. No, there has to be consistency in the symptoms. There has to be a large, um a large tally in the symptoms. All right. Okay. So the classes of personality disorders are the cluster A, B, and C. Now, it's very much possible for someone to have more than one. So you might exhibit a personality disorder that is the type in cluster A, and also exhibit a personality disorder that is a type in cluster C. All right. Now, personality disorders are classified as mental health issues, and they are diagnosed by mental health practitioners. Okay, but you can use this guide to safely diagnose yourself. All right, or and you begin to also search for solutions. Now, let me post the disclaimer. Let me say this: I'm not a mental health practitioner. I'm not a psychologist. Okay, well, I exhibit gift of counseling, but that doesn't mean I'm certified or trained to counsel. Okay, so I'm doing this based on my research, and I had to put it up in a video because I was having repeated calls to take this section in various young people groups. All right, so I had to just make a video so that I don't keep repeating myself. I can just direct people to this video, and and they would learn two, three, four things, and probably find a way around working on their disorder. All right. Okay, so we move on to the cluster A personality disorder. What are the symptoms? They include odd, eccentric thinking or behavior. So people who exhibit, you know, this personality disorder tend to have a similarity in thinking and behavior, and that involves having this odd and eccentric behavior, very weird, what we call weird behavior. Okay, so the types on the cluster A are paranoid, schizoid, and schizotypal personality disorder. All right, so the paranoid personality disorder, we have angry or hostile reaction to perceived slight and insult. So people have this, the moment they perceive, you don't necessarily have to insult them, but they perceive, they take it seriously. So they have the tendency to hold grudges. They don't confide in others because they just believe that you use that information against them. They always suspect their spouses, their partners of being unfaithful. They don't need to have a reason for that. They 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 just have to suspect. Okay, so they distrust people, they suspect people, they question motives. Even when you're nice to them, when you're loyal to them, they want to know, why are you being nice to me? Have you heard that before? Why are you being nice to me? Okay, people who have the cluster A personality disorder um, class, who happen to, fall under the paranoid class or type, okay, tend to behave this way. All right, they have this unjustified beliefs that others are trying to harm them, others are trying to deceive them. You might, as you read up this, as you go through it, it might seem familiar. Maybe you exhibit this, and note that you have to exhibit at least five. I think by my standard, you have to exhibit at least five of these things, to safely say, oh yes, to safely diagnose. All right. Now, perception of innocent remarks or non-threatening situations as personal insult or attacks. Okay, so they take things personally. All right. Now, still under the cluster A, we have the schizotypal personality disorder. Oftentimes, people that have the disorder, in my part of the world, Nigeria, we tend to think it's people who are way too bookish, bookworm, people who are professors, geeks, and all of that. And we might not be totally wrong, because my experience with this soap, this series now, I think is on showing on E2 or something, E1 or E2. Young Sheldon. Young Sheldon talks about is it's a movie or a series that tends to celebrate the geeky people in our society. And one professor comes to mind in that movie, in that season movie. I can't remember his name now. Okay, but he was the one who mentored Sheldon. And honestly, in all fairness, all of this here just fits in. It ticks, the professor ticks all the boxes here. Okay, so we might not be wrong if people are too geeky tend to have this other, but we might also be wrong. Okay, so there's this, they have peculiar way or style of dressing, of thinking, of behaving. Their beliefs, their speech, their behaviors, okay, are just too predictable. Okay, so they sometimes have odd and perceptual experiences, such as hearing a voice whisper their names. Okay, they have flat emotions, they have inappropriate emotional responses. Okay, they just don't pick up normal social cues like that. Social anxiety, lack of this. All right, so sorry, I had to pause this and quickly attend to something. Okay, so social anxiety and a lack of or discomfort with close relationships. All right, indifferent, inappropriate, or suspicious response to others. Magical thinking, believing they can influence people and events with their thoughts. Okay, they believe that certain casual incidences or events have hidden messages for them. That means they over process information. All right. Okay, so this personality disorder, um, you might want to look at it and identify if you can identify with it, or you know someone that can identify with this. Okay. The next personality, cluster B, personality disorder. What are the symptoms under this personality disorder? We have dramatic, overly emotional, or unpredictable thinking or behavior. And the types under this class are antisocial, borderline, histrionic, narcissistic personality disorder. Antisocial personality disorder. What are the symptoms? Okay, that can make you self-diagnose yourself. Okay, one, there's a disregard for others' needs or feeling, persistent lying, stealing, using aliases, conning others, recurring problems with the law, repeated violations of rights of others, aggressive, often violent behavior, disregard for safety of self or others, impulsive behavior, consistently irresponsible, lack of remorse for behavior. Now, if you read all of those symptoms, then oftentimes people find themselves consistently involved in fraudulent activities. Even when they are caught, they are back in this behavior. All right, people like this tend to have the antisocial personality disorder. Sometimes it might not be evil spirit as it were, but it might just be that they have this personality disorder. All right, the borderline personality disorder, it involves impulsive, risky behavior, such as having unsafe sex, gambling, and all of this can be traced to unstable and fragile self-image, unstable and intense relationships. People like this tend to have up and down moods, you know, often as a reaction to interpersonal stress. They are suicidal. They have this intense fear of being alone or abandoned. There's this ongoing feelings of emptiness, right? Frequent intense displays of anger, stress related paranoia that comes and goes. All right. I just need to mention that people who have this personality disorder, you know, have might have real serious background issues, okay, and they need help. Well, everyone with a personality disorder needs help, okay, and we're going to discuss the kinds of help they can get at the end of this video. All right, the Histrionic personality disorder. There's this constant seeking of attention or validation, excessively emotional, dramatic, or sexually provocative, all in a bid to get attention, right? When they speak dramatically with strong points, but very few facts or details to back them up. So they can exaggerate, they can blow up things out of proportion just because they want attention, right? They are easily influenced by others. Their emotions are very, very flexible, very shallow. All right. They are obsessed with their physical appearance, and all of this is just because they want attention. They think a lot about what people think about them. They always want to be the center of attraction. That's just it. Okay. So um they overblow or exaggerate, yes, their relationships with other people when it is not necessarily so. Okay, the narcissistic personality disorder. Now this people who tend to have this personality disorder, let me say this, is most likely the most popular personality disorder. A number of people know it, especially when we come to relationships. People say, oh, don't marry a narcissist, don't marry a narcissist, and people say that all the time. But maybe we've not been able to identify what does a narcissist, what symptoms do they exhibit. How do I recognize someone who is a narcissist? Okay, now people, if you have or you know someone that has, these are some of the tendencies that people get to see. You tend to project that you're special and more important than others. You fantasize about power, about successes, about attractiveness. Okay, you fail to recognize others' needs and feelings. You exaggerate your achievements or your talents. Expectations of constant praise and admiration. You're arrogant. I mean, this should be on the top of the list. Okay, unreasonable expectation of favors and advantages, and often also taking advantage of other people. Now there's this envy of others, or belief that others envy you, because you someone who has this personality disorder basically does not would rather step on others to shine. They just want other people's voices to be downed so that they can feel good about themselves, so that they can thrive, so that they can be fine, and so they can be respected. They just, well, they just have this toxic behavior. That's just a summary. Okay, it's not a good one. It's something that should be worked on, because you're going to tire everyone around you. You're going to bore them out. Cluster C personality disorder. What are the symptoms here? Anxiety, fearful thinking or behavior. I used to have this personality disorder. I used to exhibit one of these personality disorders. All right, so what are the types under this? We have the avoidant, the dependent, and we have the obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Now there are several types of disorder. We have the anxiety disorder, right? So, and childhood something disorder. Now you see that in the slides, after this. Okay, so we don't want you to mix it up. There's obsessive compulsive personality disorder and obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay, the avoidant personality disorder. What are these symptoms? You're too sensitive to criticism, too sensitive to rejection, you feel inadequate, you feel inferior, you feel unattractive. Okay, you avoid work activities that require interpersonal contact. You're socially inhibited, you're timid, you isolate, you avoid new activities, you avoid meeting strangers, you exhibit extreme shyness in social situations and personal relationships. And there's this fear of disapproval, fear of embarrassment or ridicule, and because of that you rather keep quiet than to experience such even when you know that your opinion is needed. All right, so these are the symptoms of an avoidant personality disorder. So next is the dependent personality disorder. What are the symptoms? What are the traits of someone who has this personality disorder? We have excessive dependence on others, the feeling to be taken care of. People who tend to exhibit this disorder, you know, might have actually faced some form of abuse, or have very, very unfair background. All right, so they tend to be clingy, they tend to be afraid to be alone, to provide for themselves. All right, they don't have self-confidence. They take advice from everyone. They just need advice. Like, do you think I should go to the toilet now? I mean, come on, it's your body, you should go to the toilet. All right, so there's this difficulty in starting projects of their own due to lack of self-confidence. There's difficulty disagreeing with others because they're afraid of disapproval. All right. Um, there's the tolerance of abusive or poor treatment, even when other options are available. They are just there. So you might wonder why someone is going through domestic violence and still chooses to stay in the marriage. All right, they might have this personality disorder. There's this urgent need to start a new relationship when a close one has ended. They have that urge, just to be with someone, just to be dependent, to have someone around them that they answer to, or that serves as a protection, quote and unquote, over them. All right. um Obsessive compulsive personality disorder. What does this mean? um People have the symptoms, can be a perfectionist, okay, and they can be a pain in the butt. Trust me on that one, because they are so uptight, so rigid, so stubborn, so they can delegate. They just want things done their own way, okay. These are the symptoms they exhibit. They're preoccupied with details, with orderliness, with rules. um they want to be in control of people, of control of tasks, in control of situations, and won't even delegate tasks. All right. um they, they, they would rather be they would rather oversee whatever it is they could easily delegate than being in the company of friends and families having fun. All right. They are so uptight, they are tired, they are miserly. They have they just tell you that I'm a perfectionist, I'm this and that, but basically they have a personality disorder and they do not realize it. Okay, so we've come to the end of the types and the classes of personality disorders. So what causes personality disorders? Your personality is a combination of your thought, your emotions, and behavior. All right, it's the way you view, the way you understand and relate to the outside world, as well as the way you see yourself. Personality forms during childhood and is shaped through an interaction of your genes and your environment. So your gene, sometimes your temperament could have a say in your gene. Certain personality traits might be passed on, onto you by your parents through your genes. Okay, your environment. This involves the surroundings you grew up in, the events that occurred, and your relationships with family members. So, if you happen to grow up in a very uptight religious setting with with a greater emphasis on demons and all of that, you might find yourself having a paranoid personality disorder. Yes, you might, because you tend to suspect people, suspect if a demon is going to come in form of a person and all that. If you were raped or abused as a child, you might end up having some other types of personality disorder. So that's why your environment can cause personality disorder for you. What are the causes of personality disorder? Still on that, the combination of your gene and environment. Okay, we've talked about that. Your gene can make you vulnerable. For instance, if your gene, you have the trait of being a melancholic, that means you most likely you're withdrawn, you're introverted, you keep to yourself a lot. Now if you happen to have this and your childhood was not fun, it was not fun at all. Like it was filled with religious rules and dogmas and all of that. Now, this might make you susceptible to developing a personality disorder. Or worse, you're in melancholy, you're always quiet, you withdrawn, and you were raped. Not once, maybe even by trusted family members. Now, you can tell what the end result will be. Okay, all right. So some factors that tend to increase the risks of developing a personality disorder includes family history of personality disorders or mental illness, abusive, unstable, or chaotic family life during childhood, being diagnosed with childhood conduct disorder, and variation in brain chemistry and structure. So these are some of the causes of personality disorders. So now you know why or how someone can develop a personality disorder. What are the effects? It would definitely disrupt your relationship, and the relationship of even those that care about you, right? It may also cause problems at school, at work, in school, and can even lead to drug abuse, alcohol addiction, and even social isolation. Right. What are the treatments? Clinically, there are no drugs, all right? But, for personality disorders that tend to have um, depression as a trigger a lot, that tend to have, if you go through all this personality disorder, you see that I think there are about two or three of them that showed signs of depression. Okay, so those personality disorders oftentimes can be managed through antidepressant drugs. However, they are also risky, very risky. Yes, antidepressant drugs can cause some form of addiction also, and might worsen the whole situation. So you might need to take note of that. Okay, scientists that help in the treatment of personality disorders are psychologists, psychotherapists, counselors, and psychiatrists. Um, yes, these are the people that can help you. All right, what are my recommendations? Now, take note once again, I am not a psychologist. All right, I'm not a psychiatrist or any of the scientists listed above. I'm just doing this based on my knowledge and based on my experience in dealing with people and having had a personality disorder myself. Okay, so the recommendations are that you see a psychologist. All right, in this part of the world, in Nigeria specifically, we don't value psychology. We don't value counseling. We rather go to our religious leaders for counseling. Yes, they might help us, but sometimes they might only treat the symptoms, not the causes. Okay, so have a support group, have people with matured and non-judgmental minds. Okay, people who are exposed to realities of this issue, so they don't judge you. All right, so they understand your struggles. Ask them to keep praying for you. If you have someone who has faith, pray for yourself as well if you're also someone who has some form of faith. Now, read books that talk about character building or molding. Practice affirmations, practice positive confessions. Tell yourself, I know I am not a narcissist. I do not exhibit any narcissist tendency. Even when deep down you know you do, but positive confessions helps your mind and your brain, to begin to work towards what your mouth is saying. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. You can ask me questions, you can reach me, but take note that I might not be able to answer all of your questions because I am not a trained psychologist. But whatever it is I can answer, I'll refer you. Thank you once again for listening. Thank you for taking this video. I appreciate you. God bless you. Bye. See you some other time.